Mm-hmm.
So you kind of automatically pivot it right into the filming for season 2. So which episode did you have the most fun filming, and what scene was the most technically challenging?
Wow,
I
technically.
Once again, all the hard questions.
Um, it's a lot of stuff you might not expect. Like it's just stuff with camera work. So anything
Mm-hmm.
tricky with camera, and especially if it involves a lot of people. So like maybe fight scenes are really technically challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously a lot of episode 7 was not only technically but emotionally challenging. There's a lot of elements to it, and
Mm-hmm.
we had like a blood rig for when
Yep.
the doctor's cutting my neck, and
Mm-hmm.
I was being crushed by this giant tire-like stone. So that was interesting. And then you're adding the element of these like the threat of killing these little kids, and so there's like that heavy emotion there. And then mom shows up, and so much of it's CGI, especially when you have like the witch plague going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also very technical, and so aside from the emotion that's really intense, there's the aspect of all that, as well
Yeah.
as when you're flashing into the sort of mycelium space. um you're basically in a giant green screen room, so the way you have to interact with that space is
Mm-hmm.
also much different, and it's also very technical. So that for me specifically, I think was probably the most technically challenging,
Mm-hmm.
because it was also pairing with very, very heavy emotion.
You're having to do a lot of mental work to get your imagination going for elements that weren't there, and then that paired with all of the emotion.
Yeah, a lot of mental exercise for sure, but
Mm-hmm.
it was also, I'd say, one of my favorites to shoot, just because of that challenge. I love a good challenge. And uh, obviously working with Diana, who plays Willow, was a blessing, and just getting more one-on-one time with her.
Mm-hmm.
I was really, really grateful for that. She was sort of my connection to Amalia, because she was
Mm-hmm.
going back and forth between us two. So I was like, how's she doing? Are they good? I love them. Tell them I
she
love them.
she was the two cups with the string in between,
Yeah,
basically.
passing the notes.
Exactly. Exactly. Between both of us. Um, this might sound morbid. Another one of my favorite things to shoot was when we were screaming at each other in the cabin,
Mm.
and Ali takes
Mm-hmm.
off. But all this violent, horrible stuff comes out that still has an underlayer of truth to it. And I was
Mhm.
like,
Yep.
whoa, this is a loaded scene. And it was, yeah, also technically challenging, because there's a lot of fight work
Mm-hmm.
to it. And, they were kind of swapping in and out our stunt doubles for certain things. Um, so we'd have to overlap, and the camera would follow a fist, or
Mm-hmm.
anything fight, any kind of fight work is very technical, but it's also probably the most fun to shoot. It's very high energy. You have a lot more
Mm-hmm.
people in the room, because you have your stunt coordinator and all the stunt people, and it's really collaborative, which is one of my favorite things about working in film. It's just like everyone has a common goal as a team to make something work, and I think that's sort of the beauty of our art form.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beauty of film, really. So it's no one can really do their job without someone else. And yeah, I think that most rings true when you have something like that, because every single department has to work together. You have to make sure that clothes aren't flying around, so you have to pin them down. Then sounds, kind of like, where do I place your mic so that it doesn't get impacted? Or yeah, it's really cool to see all the teams come together during a fight sequence. And even in our dream sequence, when Nikta is causing these nightmarescapes for us, when they have Edwin, my dad, sort of fly against the wall. Like those are
Mm-hmm.
those are crazy, crazy rigs.
Mm-hmm.
They have someone attached to a wire on the back of their mid back, I guess, and
Mm-hmm.
they yank them with a machine, and
Jesus.
they they collide with whatever it is, a wall, or in his case, it was a cupboard, but
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing split. So it was really interesting, and it's also, they would shoot sort of behind him. So sometimes I'd be interacting with the stunt double when I was
Mm-hmm.
upset. So it's really interesting, all these different elements to it,
Mm-hmm.
and how much mental work you have to do to get there, as well as I had recently lost, during those really heavy scenes, I'd recently lost my grandpa,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend. I lost a friend, so I think a lot of the weight that I was carrying, trying to keep my personal life separated from work,
Mm-hmm.
kind of came out there, which I'm grateful for because it was a lot of really heavy content, but it was something that I needed because I was sort of holding my breath, just trying to get through work and trying to keep it going because I had so
Mm-hmm.
little personal life outside of work, which I normally love, but it was really hard for me to cope with loss, and I wasn't really talking to anyone about it. I was just trying so hard to keep
Yeah.
save face and be strong for everyone else because everyone was going through stuff. Everyone was experiencing loss. We were mid pandemic, so everyone was just trying really hard to keep each other lifted and spirits high. But I didn't want to take that from anyone, and
Mm-hmm.
I realized in retrospect, like it is okay to lean on people, but I was actually really grateful for a lot of the heavy scenes that we had a sort of mid later season because it really was an outlet for me to let out some stuff that I'd been holding in, and yeah, I'm really grateful for that. So thanks, Elliot. It was torturous, but in the best way.
Therapeutic.